Has been addressing a number of national issues. We'll delve into them in a moment. Also coming up, President John Mahama shakes up his executive once again, reassigning two key portfolio holders. We'll bring you the details plus analysis of the political and governance implications. And we are still keeping an eye on the filing of nominations for the New Patriotic Party's national executive positions as former Energy Minister Boakye Jakun officially enters the race for national chairman. Be a part of the show. Let's hear what you make of the many stories we have for you tonight. We're streaming on Facebook and on YouTube. You can always be a part of this conversation. Before that, though, let's bring you the news summaries with, I nearly said Her Excellency, Noura Mohammed. Hello, Noura.
Hi, Martin. First in the news summaries, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has declined an offer by MTN Ghana to donate 20 million Ghana cedis towards support for Ghanaians affected by the recent xenophobic attacks in South Africa. Now, in the press statement dated August 26, 2026, the ministry said it had become aware of media reports suggesting MTN Ghana was preparing to make the donation, an announcement reportedly linked to an interview granted by the telecommunication giant's board chairman, Dr. Ishmael Yamson. Also in the summaries, former Ghanaian boxer Michael Aite Okai, widely known as Aite Powers, has been remanded into police custody for 1 week following an alleged death threat against National Sports Authority Director General Yao Ampu Ankara. Aite Powers appeared before the Dansoman Circuit Court on Tuesday, August 25, a day after he was arrested by the Accra Regional Police Command. Also, a year ago, building in Ghana was getting more expensive by 14.2%, but currently it's 4%, and the government statistician Dr. Al-Hassan Idrisu has announced. He says that a single shift changes the math for every household, contractor and planner in this country. Addressing a press conference in Accra on Wednesday, August 26, he said that year-on-year simply means a change since the same month last year, so the cost of building is rising far more slowly than it did 12 months ago. Now, the Member of Parliament for Ofuasi Yorubi, Kojo Opong Nkrumah, has filed for a review of the decision to dismiss his application to halt the conduct of criminal trials by selected High Court judges during the legal vacation. He's asking the Supreme Court to reverse a ruling delivered by Justice Puamang, who sat on Friday, August 21, 2026, and rejected the interlocutory injunction application. And finally, newly elected communications officer of NPP UK, Michael Ampedu, popularly known as Emotion, has outlined his plans for the party's communications directorate following his election on August 8, 2026. Now, speaking to Bethel Multimedia on August 22, Ampedu won the race with 351 votes, that is 53.42%, ahead of George Odum and Thomas Ousu, out of 657 valid votes cast. That's it for the summaries. Back to you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Noura. And let's settle for the details of our stories now, starting from the press conference that ended a few minutes ago. It was held by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. The man occupying that position, Kisi Ejabing, has been addressing a number of national issues. Now, former Power Minister and 4 others have been named as persons of interest in the ongoing investigation in the case involving former Goldman Sachs banker and Tema Oil Refinery Managing Director Asante Kweku Bekum. Special Prosecutor Kisi Ejabing named the 5 as persons of interest in the Ghanaian dimension of the bribery case. The announcement follows Bekum's conviction by a federal jury in New York on the 6th of August this year over his role in a scheme involving more than $1 million in bribes to Ghanaian officials in connection with the development and financing of a power plant in Ghana. Let's listen to the special prosecutor on a number of issues that he raised at the press conference, specifically the one having to do with the investigation of the alleged bribery that took place between Asante Kweku Bekum and some Ghanaian officials.
Circumstances of the case are such that the actions of Bekum may not necessarily establish culpability in other persons, under Ghanaian law. The OSP will not prosecute a person solely on the basis that a person's name appears in proceedings conducted in another country. Equally, the OSP will not hesitate to prosecute such persons where the evidence establishes a proper basis for so proceeding. As I stated earlier, we have been carefully investigating the Ghana dimension, and our public silence has not meant inaction. Our involvement with the case and the evidence so far enable us to identify the following as the main persons of interest in this case. 1, Kwabena Donko, who was at all times the Minister of Power. 2, Francis Walkson Kwesi Jata, at all times the technical advisor to the Minister of Power. 3, Solomon Ajete Sowa, at all times a deputy director at the Ministry of Power. Lyndon George Nisor Metal, at all times a director at Tricop Group Limited. And Bafo Ankuma Brobe, at all times an employee at Tricop Group Limited. These are our persons, our main persons of interest for the time being. Other persons of interest include some present and former employees of Volta River Authority, Ghana Great Company Limited, Electricity Company of Ghana, Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission, and some staff of the entity formerly known as the Ministry of Power. Please bear in mind, and this point should be strongly emphasized, that the person of interest is not necessarily a suspect. Still on this case, we have heard talk, and from official sources, that the OSP should not be the institution investigating the matter, and that the OSP lacks the capability and track record to investigate the matter. This begs the obvious. The institution, which provided significant assistance to the successful prosecution of Beko in the United States, rather lacks the capability and track record to investigate the Ghana dimension, and that other institutions, which were not even involved in the matter, are more competent than the OSP. Once again, which you are now in America. We did the case with the FBI, and you are saying we are not competent to handle the case. What kind of logic is that? At the OSP, we do not regard the fight against corruption as a competition between institutions and as pitching one public agency against the other. At the OSP, we reckon that the anti-corruption drive is better served through cooperation and collaboration among public institutions. History teaches us that where investigative and intelligence agencies compete among themselves and fail to cooperate with each other, unhappy events ensue, as was the case with the infamous events of 11 September 2001 in the United States. We call on our sister investigative intelligence and prosecutorial institutions. Let us cooperate with each other. Let us collaborate. Let us share intelligence. Let us compare notes. Let us work together. It is one Republic of Ghana, just one.
Certainly so. So it is just one Republic of Ghana, and the Office of the Special Prosecutor, led by Kisie Jabeng, has just outlined a number of activities they've been undertaking when it has to do with the current issue of the AXA Energy conversation, where a gentleman by name Asante Kweku Beko, who was convicted in the U.S. with issues regarding bribery allegations to the tune of about $1 million US, has come up for strong conversation. Again, we would want to take you through some of the other key issues that the special prosecutor raised. And at the press conference, he touched on, conversations in the public where people are questioning the credibility of his office and even his personality, and then also whether or not the OSP has the capacity to investigate a number of issues that have come up for conversation. And so we will bring you the specific inserts of what he said about why people have taken the issue to the Supreme Court for interpretation and the powers that set up the OSP, which has also become a public conversation. And he touched on the decision of the Supreme Court, and then the tail end, he touched on some of the key achievements that the Special Prosecutor's Office have made in the last year or the year under review. So let's go to the phone lines now and engage Edem Senanu, who is an anti-corruption advocate, and then also would also get other resource persons on this particular issue. But Mr. Senanu has joined us first. Mr. Senanu, a very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
I'm sure you followed the Special Prosecutor's press conference. He outlined a number of achievements they've been able to make in the year under review. Also, their investigations and collaboration with the U.S. agencies that investigated the AXA Energy deal, and Ghanaian names he has put out as persons of interest. My first question to you, Mr. Senano, will be that these individuals that have been named, in your view, should... how do you understand when the OSP says they are persons of interest? Does that mean they may have committed a part of the crime, or they probably were just onlookers, but they've been captured as well as part of the investigation?
I think that the Special Prosecutor was at pains to say these are not suspects, and nobody should interpret or make some communication suggesting that they've committed a crime, that it will take a court of competent jurisdiction to arrive at a conclusion. All that they are saying is that these are persons who we are following up on to gather more evidence and information so that at the right time we can draw a conclusion. So just to say, look, we are seized because from the U.S. report, those names were redacted. They are demonstrating that because we are part of the process of gathering the evidence, we know who was involved, and we have been following up. I think that's essentially what he was trying to say, that they have some additional information they are using in terms of doing their follow-up investigation.
And what is your understanding of what the OSP said when he says that they are also investigating the Ghanaian dimension of the AXA Energy deal? Because we know conviction has already been given for Asante Berko in the U.S., and so there are information we also have is that some Ghanaians played a part or were involved. And so if he says they are investigating, is there any parallel we can draw from what happened in the U.S., or that's completely isolated?
I guess that the U.S., I mean, of course, it's a different jurisdiction. The laws they'll be looking at and the sanctions those laws will apply will be different from what we find here, except to say that there is a connection because the U.S. went after Asante Berko because he was also a U.S. citizen. So they were going after their own and saying, we have found you to have taken certain actions that as a U.S. citizen you ought not to have. We do know from the data that was available that Asante Berko himself, through his emails, had indicated specific payments to officials in Ghana. And I think those specific payments, as mentioned in his emails, which were describing payments he made to officials in Ghana, would be the Ghana dimension that is being described here, that, okay, so there's a U.S. citizen, certain funds released from the U.S., but were paid in Ghana, who were those recipients, to the extent that these officers were facilitating a contract which they had no right to facilitate if they were dealing with a straightforward public procurement process.
And so maybe on that one, we can just leave it as it is, because the OSP says they are still investigations. The 5 individuals who he calls persons of interest, he's named them, would shift to the other bit of his press conference where he said that there seemed to be some vindication in the setting up of the OSP's office and even in his personal capacity as the head of the OSP, where persons were questioning the capacity the OSP should have and whether or not it is set up targeting, just specific individuals. He says that the Supreme Court's decision seemed to have agreed with why they were set up, and that he feels some form of vindication. Is that the sense you got from what he was putting across?
Well, yes. I mean, the man's tenure has been littered with challenges to his person as well as to the office. I think that they've had probably at least 4 challenges by legal routes, or if not more. And I think in this one, what he was saying was this: with such a landmark decision, 7-0, that's historic, on a matter that, I mean, the pundits, many people thought that, you don't have that capacity. Don't forget there was a high court that actually ruled saying that they had no right to prosecute. And after that, you found that many of the courts immediately suspended hearing of cases. So for the Supreme Court to disagree with the High Court and therefore, as it were, overrule and therefore reverse, I'm not surprised that there's some vindication there, because they were at the forefront of going to court saying we represent the OSP, we are handling this case. You can't be in court as a lawyer, senior lawyer himself, and a lecturer of law, and then suddenly be told that you didn't even check to make sure that the institution you had by law is not actually set up to play the role it's supposed to. So I'm not too surprised he's expressing that kind of vindication.
And does that bring finality to the relevance of the office? If you have key voices like the outgoing majority leader in Parliament, Mahama Yariga, all calling for the scrapping of the OSP's office, and now that the Supreme Court has ruled, that should bring finality to the conversation, no?
Well, from a legal and technical perspective, at least at this point, you can't argue the Supreme Court, what they have said, unless somebody goes to the Supreme Court for a review. And I doubt that with a 7-0, anybody would want to attempt that. What they are saying is that, listen, we are clear. This is unanimous. It cannot be the case that this office is a mistake, that the legal frameworks by statute or otherwise is flawed. I think that from a technical perspective, no, the case is closed. However, it does not mean that some people would not disagree and continue to attempt to manipulate or insinuate that they can't do A or B. So I think that probably the most important thing is that ultimately the constitutional review should ensure that this office is entrenched. Because you do need an independent special prosecutor to take up cases from a perspective where government doesn't have influence. And that's the problem. We all know from the historical trajectory that in the past, the Attorney General and the office are not as equipped or willing to prosecute their own. So this is a necessary office if we are going to ensure that we make much more progress against the fight.
Mr. Senanu, thank you so much for your time as always.
And thank you too.
And Adam Senanu is the co-chair Citizens Movement Against Corruption, and was speaking on the press conference that ended moments ago by the Special Prosecutor Kessie Jabing. Martin Kpebu is a private legal practitioner, also one that has spoken quite extensively on what the OSP is expected to be doing, the office that is. He's joined us for a quick chat. Mr. Kpebu, good evening. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, good evening.
Right. What was your general assessment of the OSP's presentation? One, he said that they are also investigating the AXA energy, issue. Secondly, as an office, they've chalked some successes. Some we may not know as the public, but they've been able to save the nation some good quantum of money. And then maybe you can talk about the last bit where he says those who were questioning the credibility and the relevance of his office have had their questions answered by the decision of the Supreme Court. So that issue should be put to rest. Generally, what would your assessment be of the presentation today?
Oh, so, well, being a public institution, it's good when the OSP engages the public. Yes, so that one is good. It helps our democracy that the OSP will engage the public from time to time. It's actually to give updates on their reports and those things, you see. And through that, now they're doing press conference. It's good. Generally, I embrace engagement of the public, right? But it's also glaring, the fact that at the point, OSP suppressed this case. OSP suppressed this case, and you see he answered it, that the fact that they didn't update us on this case doesn't mean they were not working. Why was he hiding the case? You see, why was he hiding the case? You see that there's a big attempt to suppress the case. A very big one.
Is that the interpretation you get, Mr. Kwebu? Because he said that they worked with the FBI to try and get some information, or at least they assisted in the investigation. So it wasn't that they were suppressing it. Maybe it is now time for the Ghanaian public to know about the case. Is that not a fair way to also analyze it?
Is this name? Is this Marina
yes,
or name?
This is Martin. Yes.
Martin, you overstated his position. Listen, let me tell you, what they did in respect of helping the FBI, those are not central issues. When you are dealing with a case proper, as he said, was he the one who discovered the email trail, the fact that bribes have been paid? Those were the central matters. Look, these things, they asked them to do a few bits and pieces on Ghanaian law. They are not the ones who investigated the case. Look, you should stop exaggerating. We can read in between the lines. Is he the one who uncovered the case? And even remember that he didn't start this though. Martin Amidou was on the case before he came. And Amidou is accusing him that he suppressed the case. So Amidou, and even from Amidou, it went to Cynthia, what's her name? Is it Lumo? So the deputy special prosecutor. You know, when Amidou went, Cynthia was in charge for some months before Kisei Jabin came. So Amidou wrote a piece, okay, an article where he said from himself the case went to Cynthia, and then from Cynthia before it came to Kisei Jabin. And Amidou is saying that this case had been suppressed, and that evidence of it is even what Kisei Jabin admits, and the public too can see that when he took over, how many times did he mention that case? How many times did that case make it into his report? We say, so as for suppressing the case, he can't run away from it. So he should not worsen the case by coming to say that he was involved in, or the office was the one investigating the case for the FBI. No, those things that they had to do, I'm telling you that those are peripheral matters. That's not the heart of the investigation.
Right.
That's not the heart of the investigation. The fact that FBI has acknowledged that he should be careful. He should be careful. We can ask for an audit. What and what did they do? What and what did Kisei Jabin do in this investigation? His main preoccupation was with suppressing the case because of various interests. That's all that it was. He didn't investigate this case. If the Americans, then they will come for Ghanaian components. Oh, what is this? Or give us, can you apply to the Ghanaian bank, this court for authorization to take bank statements of
maybe a suspect or something,
etc.
Okay.
I'm telling you that those are not critical matters in respect of the investigation. Those are just formal matters that, as FBI, they will have to rely on the local agency here to do it. He should spare us the exaggerations. It's not good. He's belittling our intelligence by doing what he's doing. He was not front and center. He wasn't a critical part of the investigations. If he was, he would have even announced this case, that they are investigating it vigorously. But you see that he didn't make it into his report. So Kisei Jabin is misleading us. You don't play a boy role in an investigation and then come and now and announce that you were at the front and center. He was not part. I insist that. And if he likes, he should bring an audit of the actual work he did. And we'll tell him that was peripheral. So go and get bank statements. Go and get this, that.
And
basic things.
And Council, maybe in conclusion, the bit about the issue that went to the Supreme Court that raised, questions about the setting up and the contrary laws that were quoted and people asking for the office to be scrapped. Now that the Supreme Court has given some final judgment on it, he has acknowledged it. Is there a sense of vindication you get from his presentation?
Oh, no, you see, they are shifting the goalposts. Listen, no serious person ever thought that the Supreme Court was going to scrap the whole office. No, nobody who followed it. And you see, if you want to see how that was never even on the table, remember that President Mahama had earlier on come to state, okay, that there is space for the OSP, etc. And as the president, the president gets the best of legal advice, etc. So the president doesn't speak in a vacuum. So from the president's speech, you would know that his lawyers had already advised him that as for totally scrapping the OSP, it was off the table. Remember, that's not the first case to go to the Supreme Court on the OSP. Dr. Ayine, they challenged Martin Amidu's age, and it went, and then even though, and the Supreme Court held that no, Amidu could stay in office. Even though the question, some lawyers will tell you that wasn't the main question. That the question before the court was not whether OSP is legal. Yes, I admit that wasn't it. But listen, when the thing is so obvious, something is so obviously wrong, and you go to court asking a different question, that obvious thing, the court can raise it. The Supreme Court can raise it. And so what I mean is that the moment that Amidu age case went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said he could continue indirectly, they had already pronounced that the office was legal. So it wasn't about the office itself. The main question was whether for each case that the special prosecutor takes to court, the special prosecutor must collect authorization from Attorney General, or by the way it was set up, the Act of Parliament, the AG himself sponsoring the bill, etc., then it meant that the AG had given his or her power to the special prosecutor to act. So that it's not like some institutions must always go to the Attorney General for authorization, or if you like, call it fiat, etc. That's the real question. So who said me? Even if you can check all the interviews. I used to make it clear that no, nobody is saying the office be scrapped. Nobody is saying the office be scrapped. Yes, the plaintiff put it there. But I'm saying that in terms of seriousness, every serious person who is following the discourse would know
at
that
all
the
times,
Supreme Court was
technical advice
stop the whole
to the Minister of Power.
institution. And remember, the High Court itself did not even stop the whole institution. The High Court was just saying that, look,
Solomon Ajete Sowa, at all times,
case, he should go and collect authorization. He should show the authorization. So it is the method of getting authorization that was the real case. What method? Do you have a standing authorization by the creation of the office, or you go for authorization case by case? That was the real thing. But the final point is this. I didn't get to listen. Did he admit that now the Supreme Court says that he is under the supervision of the Attorney General?
I didn't catch that part.
Oh, no, that's the most important thing in the case. So the case has clarified that the Attorney General supervises the special prosecutor. So that at least those personal things he was following, when he's been using the office for personal business, etc., like I've been complaining, he's suppressing cases for his friends, etc. Now the Attorney General, Dr. Ayine, can supervise him. And so that will reduce those things. So that's the main thing in the case. If he didn't mention that in the press conference, then there's no business in mentioning the Supreme Court case. The main thing is that the Supreme Court says that the Attorney General has supervisory jurisdiction over the OSP. So the OSP is under the Attorney General. It's the Attorney General who gave the powers, so the Attorney General will supervise OSP. That's the key thing.
Okay. Mr. Gbebu, thank you for your time on this issue. Always a pleasure talking to you. Martin Kpebu, private legal practitioner, sharing a thought on the press conference that was held by the Special Prosecutor, Kisie Jabeng, where he touched on a number of issues. For those of you who may have missed portions of it, we'll run through a few of the brief highlights of that presentation. Amongst other things, he says that the activities of the OSP that is the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and their shake-up of the government's payroll system has saved the country over 100 million Ghana cedis. The OSP safeguarded the Tema Oil Refinery from being pawned off or sold off, more or less, and then also is now in operation after years of inactivity. Again, he says that the OSP has saved the nation more than 20-fold the total amount released for since its inception or its establishment, and has therefore fully paid for the far and above the resources that were invested into the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Your thoughts are also very welcome on this subject. We'll be happy to share it with the rest of the world. Let's shift our attention to our second major issue this evening, having to do with a reshuffle that came in moments ago from the office of President John Dramani Mahama. And the news is that, in case you have not heard, President John Mahama has made changes to his government, and Abdul Rashid Pelpuo has been reassigned as the Minister of State for Special Initiatives, while Emmanuel Kwejo Ajekum is replacing Rashid Pelpuo as the Minister for Labor, Employment and Job Creation. The President has also reassigned Deputy Minister for Defense, Ernest Broja Jemfi, who has also been reassigned to become a presidential advisor on national resilience and emergency preparedness. And this was put out by the government spokesperson, Felix Kwachiofosu. So these are two key changes to the president's ministerial portfolios. Let's speak now to Dr. Victor Doke, who is a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center. Doc, a very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Hello to you.
What would your initial thoughts be? I mean, we know that Broja Jemfi, for instance, had been the deputy for about a year and counting, and then a few days ago, a substantive has been named who has taken office, and now he's been removed as deputy. Does that raise any concerns, or you see it as regular protocol and the power the president has is what he's exhibiting?
Okay, thank you for the question. Three areas. One, first of all, I wasn't surprised because there are some underlying factors I would like to keep to myself personally that I know and that has that which has been seen out, and that which has been previewed to me by sources. Two, the powers vested in the president mandates that he reshuffles, fires, appoints as he wills, sometimes based on very key, analysis or risk assessment that has been done, or even with regard to performance. Looking at defense sector, very sensitive, places as much. Now you have a substantive Minister of Defense, so probably, maybe, the assessment has been done to see, well, we don't need a deputy, or the deputy may come later. Nobody knows. And then last of, is the fact that when you look at the terrain, the security terrain itself, you had, reshuffling from the National Security Secretariat, and then now, with regards to the defense sector, looking at the Deputy Defense Minister. So questions beckon us, will the president appoint a new defense minister or not? And what are the pros and cons? So if he wanted to, in the immediate term, then he would have, named someone to, in addition to the list that was communicated. But let's have a general conversation, not directed only to this reshuffling. Looking at, positions and key installations such as defense and security, where you would have personalities come in less than 2 years, they are asked to go to other sectors. Continuity is very key. Experience in as much as we want, and even 3-6 months can't count as an experience there are some key sectors that you would need longevity. The defense is one. National security is also one. NIB is also one. In fact, the general security sector needs longevity. So whoever is asked to take up the mandate needs to have some, level of assurance, security with regards to performing the role, understanding the sector, and then, immersing themselves into the sector to be able to contribute, meaningfully to the sector.
Right.
And so if the changes come, we bring in new people, it would be somewhat of a distortment, and it can disturb the flow. And so we need to look at that.
Okay. My next question to you, I also do have Dr. Joshua Zato with me. We'll look at the governance aspect generally with him in a moment. But my final question to you, Dr. Doke, will be that should a sensitive ministry like the defense, like you've indicated, be personality-driven? Maybe we know someone who he's tough talking, he takes action, he's decisive. Do we need that kind of personality, or we need someone who could be laid back, strategic, not very visible, but takes, concrete actions that inure to the general benefit of the Ghanaian people? Who should lead that kind of ministry? And is it not too broad to leave it for one person? Shouldn't the deputy be there to help, you think?
Right. So let me start with the last one. A deputy position is very key. They assist the substantive minister and act in the absence of a substantive minister. And so here's a case whereby you don't have a deputy. So the assistance role probably will fall on the chief directors and the directors of that ministry. And that is why they are there. Very key personalities who know much about the sector, who are going to contribute to the success of the minister. Now, there's no research that has come out to say someone, a good communicator, assertive, or whatever it is with physical characteristics that you would want to have should necessarily be the person to be appointed as a minister of state. No. Okay. It is how you understand, contribute. Okay. The issues about communicating to the public about the sector will tell a lot if you know what you're doing, if you know the sector you're in, and if you have understood. So one little mistake with regards to what you bring out to the public can determine whether you would need to stay in that position or not.
Okay.
So sometimes, in as much as the appointing power rests on the president or higher authority, we need to look at certain characters beyond who belongs to one political party.
Okay.
And this will help us a lot.
Dr. Victor Doke, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you.
He's a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center. And still on the reshuffle, we have Dr. Joshua Zato, who has also joined us. Doc, thank you for your time. What would your general assessment be of the reshuffle, considering the fact that Rashid Pelpo, former minister under Mahama 1, given a portfolio as Labour minister, and now has been moved completely from that ministry and is now going to be working at the office of the president?
Thank you very much. Good evening to you and good evening to your listeners. First of all, let's just start with where you ended, Rashid Pelpo. Rashid Pelpo was the only cabinet minister from the Upper West region in this government. If you look at it, the NDC won all 11 constituencies in the Upper West region, so 11 over 11. They chose only one to be in cabinet. By this decision, effectively, the Upper West region has no single representative or in cabinet now. In terms of the representative democracy we want to practice, there's something wrong, fundamentally wrong with that. I mean, if you want to say that of all the 11 MPs you got from Upper West, none is fit to sit in cabinet, there is a fundamental problem to that kind of logic. Secondly, I want to look at the movement of Growing Agency out of defense. Interestingly, we are treating the defense ministry as if it is not as strategic as you want it to be. Because following the demise of the former defense minister, we left that critical place empty for almost a year, only allowing the Minister of Finance, another big ministry, to act in a caretaker position. Throughout all these periods then, the day-to-day lifting of the work then had to be the deputy minister. All of a sudden, you got a new minister, and then you quickly remove it. It also then raises some serious question about the significant relevance we put in that ministry, considering that we are in a region where instability and there are serious security challenges. So I have a problem with that. Now, then you move somebody to go in charge of national resilience and preparedness. I don't know whether it's a new ministry, I don't know whether it's a new directorate, or I don't know if it's just job for the boys. That office, in fact, those two offices, the one that the Honorable Rashid Kapoor and the one that the other guy is going to occupy in the office of the president, these are just jobs for the boys.
Oh,
if they are not needed and if it's not critical, you can let them go. But just put them in the inclusion pen and paper does not add value to this country.
Wow, it's interesting you describe their new appointments as job for the boys because, I mean, for someone who is going to be advising the president on issues of, let me get the specific designation that the president has given him. He's going to advise the president. So Broja Jemfi, for instance, is going to be presidential advisor on national resilience and emergency preparedness. And you know that in recent past, you've just had floods and issues of national concern. So if you have someone to advise the president on that, why would you make it look like it's just job for the boys?
Think about it this way. What's the name? There's NADMO, right? National Disaster Preparedness Organization. NADMO is specifically akin to, let's say, FEMA in the United States. It's especially established to deal with national preparedness and resilience, and that is NADMO's job. This is ministry NADMO falls under, the Ministry of the Interior. So the question that you then ask is, if you wanted a minister, somebody at the ministerial level, to deal centrally with preparedness, then you have said, okay, let's make a Minister of State of the Interior precisely in charge of disaster preparedness or resilience, because there's a substantive ministry under that. The question I ask is, okay, is he now going to work? Is he the one going to advise the president on resilience, or is he going to be the Minister of the Interior through the NADMO? Now, is he going to now go to NADMO to get data, to get information, or is going to go to the Minister of the Interior before he gets to the president? So it's a bit confusing and conflicting that you want to know which are the lines, the direct lines of what, reporting and communicating. When you're talking about resilience and listening, you want to also be prepared. You need a budget, you need staff, you need other things. This office is does not have a budget, does not have the manpower to help deal with this. So I see, that's what I'm saying, it looks a little bit redundant in that we already have a whole agency, a whole department for that. So you could have just, and it's in a different ministry. So it creates a kind of merry-go-round. Is this guy going to go see the Interior Minister, then come to see the President, or see the President go to see the Interior Minister?
So instead of
the Director General of the NADMO, is that man not supposed to advise the President? Right. Because remember, he's not a cabinet minister, so he cannot, not a sector minister. So he cannot substantially do things that a cabinet minister would have been able to do.
So you would, I mean, like, you are alluding to the fact that he should have just let them go because there are people playing the roles they are coming to play in the office of the president.
Oh, I'm saying that, look, if you move somebody to Ministry of Defense, we understand that. You move somebody to Deputy Minister of Defense, we understand those things. If you're moving like that. But if you're moving somebody to an office, a non-existent office, or an office that we don't know whether the work that they're doing, they seem sound redundant because you already have whole staff, national staff, regional staff, decentralized staff playing that role. Then we ask the question, what exactly is the person going to do in that office?
Right. Fair question. Right. And so let me just pick your thoughts on, I mean, now that you're wearing your governance and political hat, let me just throw this one in. As someone who's been watching Ghana's political space, you'd certainly know that the political activities within the New Patriotic Party is gathering momentum. Key figure like Boache Jakon today officially filed his nomination to run for national chair position. What would your thoughts be about his capability, his capacity, what he's bringing? That is, if delegates choose him to lead the party in the position of national chairman.
Thank you. I think if you look at those running for the NPP National Chairmanship, and especially if you look at, let's say, the three front runners, Honorable Gemboedu, Honorable Boachaja, Honorable Afako, you see that the NPP is blessed with choices, or exposed for choices over choices. I mean, each of these men, on any day, any time, if they win the seat, the NPP will be in very safe hands. So because there are men that have demonstrated their political experience, their political maturity, their political acumen, and they have been able to demonstrate it tactically to show that any one of them can easily and, if they say, seamlessly slot into that position and lead the party to victory. So the party is spoiled for choices. That is just a general observation you come of men and women who anybody and any day cannot question their qualifications, their experience, their political maturity, and bona fides to be national chairman. And when you are in that position, then you are in the place where you are in a better position. It means that you can literally, for want of a better word, close your eyes, put your hand in the cup, and then any name you move, you are good to run away. So those are the options and the choices open to the NPP. The second thing too is that no matter how, if you are a keen observer of what is happening in that race now, it is devoid of the usual acrimony that we see with NPP national elections. There's a reason for that. The major driver of the tension and the acrimony usually used to be who will come after, who will be the flag bearer after the election.
Right.
So you are seeing this saying that I'm doing this, and it is a major driver of tension. That is why bringing the flag bearer race early it's a masterstroke. It's one of the most intelligent and the smartest things the NPP has done since they've gone into opposition. They have now made it that, yes, you to go out there and win the presidency on your merit without trying to free ride on the notion that you belong to this candidate and that this candidate worships run together. That usually doesn't help the party. It leaves the party very structured.
Okay.
That is why you've seen that literally the race looks boring because it is just going the way it is. The usual source of the tensions, the frictions, and the violence is removed. And we have to say kudos to the NPP for at least managing it like that.
Dr. Zato, pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And he is a political science lecturer and a political analyst, again, clearly positioning what he believes is the NPP's strongest foot being put forward, where he says all those who are running for the national chair positions are competent. The NPP is clearly spoiled for choice, and that he believes this will help the party in picking the right individuals to assist Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to recapture power or regain power in 2028. This is 3FM 92.7, and picking off on the last bit of what Dr. Zato said, I indicated that a number of people are gunning for key positions within the party. Today, some of them have filed their nominations. Let's listen to this report, which captures those who have been able to successfully do so and the way forward as the party prepares to pick its national executives.
Members of the committee. Good morning, the executives herein assembled. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the press. Let us thank the Lord.
Apologies for the quality of sound there, but that is Boache Jakun, who was trying to give reasons why the delegates should vote for him. We'll bring you details of that on our website, 3news.com, and at 7 p.m. on TV3, there's News 360. We'll give you further breakdown of what this means for the party. This is Hot Edition. Stay with us. Time now for business.
Hello, good evening, and time now for the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Kausa. Coming up tonight, World Bank reveals 56.4% of Ghanaians remain in poverty despite economic recovery. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. Despite Ghana's recent economic recovery, 56.4% of Ghanaians remain in poverty, with widening disparities across different parts of the country, the World Bank has said. The World Bank Division Director for Ghana, Liberia and Sierra Leone, Robert Taliesio, said the strong headline economic growth recorded in recent years was yet to translate into improved living conditions for a significant proportion of the population. Moving on, the 24-hour Economy Secretariat says it is working with Development Bank Ghana to establish a major financing facility for small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs. Director and Head of Innovative Finance, Partnership and Markets, Dr. Ishmael Ni Amano Dodu, says the program aims to mobilize at least $1 billion, equivalent to about 10 billion cedis over 4 years. The Secretariat is confident of raising more than $400 million, or about 4.4 billion cedis in the first phase, which will be channeled through commercial banks to support SMEs. The facility is expected to provide cheaper, patient capital with repayment periods of 3 to 5 years and possible moratorium depending on the projects financed.
We cannot allow non-performance loan, NPLs, to come. We have to also drive out the notion that this is really not the way we have to approach it. So, well, it's a bicycle, so you have to not pay back and so on. So this is money that is going to the economy. It's going to real SMEs who are actually running the economy. But one of the things that will be good is that it is not collateralized. We are setting up an insurance scheme to be able to insure the loan that will go to you and also insure the product as well.
SMEs account for an estimated 80 to 90% of Ghana's economic activity, but continue to face major challenges in accessing affordable financing. The program is therefore seeking to provide financing at significantly lower rates, with a target of 10 to 14% as an initial benchmark for many businesses to expand and create jobs.
Our approach, our strategy is to work with Development Bank of Ghana. Why DBG? Because they have access to development finance. Development finance can be very patient. They are also cheaper than normal rate, and they allow the SMEs to be able to build their capital, all right, equity, and continue to invest in their own production and so on.
And that was a report on the 24-hour Economic Secretariat targeting $1 billion for small and medium-sized enterprises to cut borrowing costs. And that brings us to the end of the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck. Also, for more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. Rick Wampoff is here for Sports News. Please stay.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. And let's start off from England, where Coventry City boss Frank Lampard has praised midfielder Caleb Urenchi following the Ghanaians' performance in the League Cup. Urenchi provided an assist to Taiwo Awoniyi as Coventry secured a 4-2 victory over Plymouth to advance to the next stage of the competition. Now, Urenchi joined Coventry in the summer for a club record fee, making his official debut against Arsenal in the Premier League last Friday.
Yeah, really good play, and that's what we brought Caleb here for. He's a really, really talented young man. There's so much to his game which is going to get better. he's a very young man, so that's great. And yeah, Ty was ready to run behind, took it very, very clean. I was right behind it actually, and he didn't have much to aim for, and got it right in the corner.
Yeah, no, it was lovely flick to be fair. It was a nice play. It was a great start, like you said. Like, what was it? First 5 minutes, 2-0 up. So, yeah. Great pass from Kitchen to, I think it was Kitchen to Caleb, and a lovely weighted flick round the corner for T. There's T right there, just to put it in the bottom corner. So yeah, and then he's done it back to me. So yeah, he's done a lovely flick round the corner to me for me to go on and finish. So it was good.
Well, we still stay in England, where Manchester City have completed the signing of Moroccan international Ayoub Wadi on a 5-year contract. The 18-year-old midfielder joins from French side Lille on a deal that will keep him at the Etihad Stadium until 2031. Wadi joined as one of the most exciting young players in world football, having made 96 appearances for Lille and won 8 international caps for Morocco already. He featured for France at the youth and under-21 level before switching to play for Morocco, the nationality of his parents, and starred for the Atlas Lions at this summer's FIFA World Cup. Before we go, let's do some boxing, where 2020 Olympic bronze medalist Samuel Techi says he's ready to defeat Botswana's Stephen Bagwasi on September 19 at the Bukom Boxing Arena. Techi, who was recently signed by Legacy Rise Sports, remains undefeated in 8 professional bouts ahead of his latest encounter.
I think with Legacy Rise, I think they are best in Ghana now and they are best in Africa now. And with Legacy Rise, with Samuel Techi SC ex-Legacy Rise, listen, people should give me 2 years. I'm going to bring the world title. I'm ready for that guy. And I think it is a good test for me because I've sit down since 1 year, and this is my coming back. So I think I have to use him to set an example for, those who are calling me. So I'm going to use him for example. I'm calm. I'm not going to underrate him, but as you can see, some fans are here. I know the fans miss me. They want to see me in the ring, and I'm prepared. I'm ready for him to give the fans what they want. I'm working on everything. Everything has to be complete in the ring on 19 September. So I'm working. He's going to feel my jab. He's going to feel my left hook. He's going to feel my right. So everything has to be completed in 19th.
And so that was Ghanaian boxer